We are ready. All right, roll call. Chair Marie Hotta.
Here.
Vice Chair Andy Sakaris.
Here.
Edie Hughes.
Here.
Gina Olberding.
Present.
Dina Phelps.
Here.
Amy Wilson. City Council Liaison Chelsea Nunica. Inglewood School Liaison Devon Williams.
Here.
Excused, we have Maggie Burns and Chris Ray. And we've been informed tonight that Scott Gilbert has resigned. Staff, we have Director Christina Underhill, Library and Cultural Arts Manager Bethany Lafferty, Patron Experience Librarian Carrie Watson, and Librarian Hannah Kinne and Rachel Steen. Did I have everybody? Okay. Correct. Or approval of minutes.
Oh, yeah, we could just like that. I was sorry, like, okay, I'll do the approval of minutes before the.
I'll move to approve these.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
They were very nice minutes. Really nice.
Thank you.
All right, no public comment, check. And we'll move to reports now. Okay. So, in the statistical report, there are a few new items. In the usage overview section, under total patrons registered, Englewood patrons registered, and then you'll see a new line that says new account registration. So this is the number of new accounts that were registered in the month of January. And Carrie Watson did go back through all of 2023 and pulled out the comparable numbers for 2023. So we do have a comparison. So in January this year, we had 476 new accounts registered. Do keep in mind that in January 2023, we were only open for 8 days. So in 8 days, we did 105 accounts. So that could be anything from a full service card, limited access, or a computer account. So that's one new item in there. Under the circulation section, we have the Library of Things is broken out. So these totals aren't added back into like the total circulation. So that's why you see it below total circulation, because they're kind of already in there. Culture Pass is its own number, like if that's not included anywhere else, it's there. So for Hannah Kinne she maintains the reports for these items, and so she did provide the checkouts for book club kits last year. And as we move forward, I think in March we'll start seeing March 2023 for the culture passes. So we'll start having a comparison then, because that's when they launch. And the board games will take a little bit longer before we have a comparison. So those are the new things there. Culture passes, we had 56. The top use was Denver Museum of Nature and Science with 27 passes. Butterfly Pavilion, 13. Wings Over the Rockies, 6. Denver Botanic, 4. Colorado Railroad Museum had 3 passes. Dinosaur Ridge had 2. And 1. The Denver Museum of Miniatures, Dolls, and Toys.
I'm glad to hear that the Favorite Finding, because I went there in January with a culture pass, and they were like, "Oh, we don't get Inglewood much," and I was like, "You don't say, that's interesting."
Oh yeah, that's the top one, and I think so far for February, it's the top one.
I'm glad to hear that.
And we did just add, Hannah completed the agreement with the Denver Firefighters Museum, so that is now available in the culture passes as well. So that's our new addition for culture passes this year.
Does the art museum offer it?
They do not.
No.
They give us sorry, Kinne. They give us a few free passes each year, but they don't offer membership.
I think Because they're like, their entry is like a donation anyway.
They do
But
a
yeah.
lot of free days as well.
And I think last year, the free passes we had, did we put them in like
Yeah,
the summer
right.
meeting?
I think they gave us like 50 or 100.
Yeah, so we gave them away to people in packages and stuff like that for summer reading.
But students also doesn't.
So,
Yeah.
I remember hearing.
Sorry, unless you.
I was just gonna say, one other thing that was actually removed in the circulation area was just the usage of Access 360, since we discontinued that last year. So I've just completely removed it from the reporting. What are you gonna say?
You know, each month we look at these numbers and I can't help but wonder, is there anything, any of this data that is collected that you feel like it's not really useful to the operational decisions of the library? Because that would be causing your staff extra work to collect that information and then you're reporting it, right?
Mhm.
And then are we making decisions based on these things? So just kind of asking a reflective question, if there's anything that's come up that your staff is like, man, we collect this data and we don't do anything with it. Because that's the lens I'm taking.
Sort of, and that's one of the, it's not broken down in here, but I'm making a point of expanding on it. So like the next part I was gonna point out is that for like questions answered, 2,500 questions. Well, 2,591, 2,532 were for adults, 40 were questions for kids, 19 were for teens. And then top 50% question types were 507 questions about accounts, 295 interactions on room reservations. So that's making study room reservations, meeting room reservations, or even the tech lab. Supplies, 283 interactions. So supplies includes anything for providing like a pen or earbuds or, the snack bags and like warming kits we pass out. And then computer help was 217. So those are the top 50% of questions that were asked. And so we do have like a web-based program where the staff kind of click in it, what types of questions are being asked. So like that is something that they do on a daily basis. And we've always just kind of said, here's the total number of questions, like blanket, 2,500. But I'm really trying to make an effort to kind of demonstrate what the amount of time is spent on. So like 50% of the questions we encounter in a month have to do with account issues, making room reservations, handing out supplies, and helping people.
So that yeah, because I think, as a board that we, if it's asked of us to make decisions about a thing, or hey, let's have a new program to help, answer that question, because we're getting a lot, and if it was automated, that might alleviate some of the burden on your staff. I mean, that's the lens I'm coming from. So I guess I would hope that if for any reason that there's data that's collected that you don't feel like is useful or helping you in your decision-making for strategic discussions, I would love for you to bring that up and say, this isn't actually that useful for us.
Mhm.
Because I don't think it's been useful for your team to be collecting things that we're not gonna do anything with and make decisions on.
Yeah.
So,
And the other thing about questions, the questions answered tally is it's not like 100% accurate, because many of us will, have maybe for every 5 interactions, we remembered a log 3.
yeah,
So it's not like 100% accurate. But I mean, as of right now, I don't feel like there's anything like
that's okay.
overwhelming that's like, what are we doing with this information?
And it is a lot of great information, obviously, and as long as we use it at some point, then. So, thanks.
Sure. The next part I just was gonna point out for programming, the children's programs and the teen programs are pretty much on par, a little bit higher than what they've been in the past, definitely more outreach for children's. And in particular, what Kimberly, some of her outreach visits to the public schools included, a visit to, Clayton for, I don't know why I didn't separate it. She went and presented to all of 3 of the second grade classes in preparation for their living museum project. So she provided some instruction about how to like find materials, whether it's, using biographies, nonfiction, and then also picture books and online resources. She did say 4 students specifically have come to the library saying they saw, she visited their class and asked for the resources. And then there's been other students that have come in asking for things that fit into that project, but didn't necessarily say, I go to Clayton. She also visited, or didn't visit, but she assembled books for the 4th grade classes at Clayton to supplement their American Revolution unit. So she had corresponded with the teacher and kind of set some things aside and picked out some titles so that kids and parents were coming in, they would kind of have them at the ready. So that's one of the good outreaches she's been doing. The adult services team had a total of 38 programs, 30 active programs that had 183 attendees, 4 ongoing passive programs with 291 participants, and then 4 outreach visits that served 30 patrons. The outreach is the homebound delivery. And the passive programs include a winter gear drive, the food bag distribution, supply bags, and the winter reading registration. I've got
Any
a statistical report in case, unless anyone has any questions.
Any wild exclusions or just sort of the front of the mill?
Yeah, we had 2 exclusions, mostly for, one for drugs and then one for just threatening behavior. We've actually added a new kind of category, just really for ourselves, but it does show up in our monthly reports. But it's just kind of, that's what I'm putting under other, that we have just a section for documentation. So that maybe we're not issuing a verbal warning or an ejection, but we're just documenting an interaction that we had or an observation we made of a individual or a complaint that somebody has made to us. We've just recorded it as documentation. So that all the documentation items are showing up in the other.
Thank you.
All right, the action. Which we will do that for business, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just looking back at the agenda.
It's usually technically next, because budget
Okay,
question is later in the.
all right, perfect. Then let's move into old business and.
Basically, there's no real changes. There was just some minor grammar changes that I had to make to the document from last month. And then the only other thing was that I just removed an item that was more kind of a training item rather than something we needed to include in the action plan. So the action plan is more or less the same as it was last month. And nobody really seemed to have any questions or concerns last month. So it's just kind of at a state to be formalized.
Does anyone have questions about it as it stands? We have a motion to approve the action plan.
Motion to approve the action plan.
Second.
All those in favor of approving the 2024 action plan? Aye. Any opposed? All right, great. We look forward to updates next month. Cool. Yeah, cool. All right, we can move on to new business then with Candace.
And I just want to, before Hannah starts, I just want to mention throughout the year, we have the like intention of having each of the teams within the library doing a presentation on specific things that they're working on. Or like this is going to highlight last year's, activities. So it'll either be kind of like a recap of something or just kind of a little bit more in depth on what's being worked on in that. Okay, so Hannah, take it away.
Famous Hannah. Doesn't it feel like that? I just hear about this. I'm always sitting there in the peanut gallery.
First, I want to say thank you all for having me. I do want to be mindful of the 5 to 7 minute time allotment that I was given on the agenda, so I do want to ask that everyone hold their questions until the end. But we'll go ahead and get started with, why am I the one giving you this presentation? I'm one of our full-time librarian ones. My position was created last year. I am a recent Master of Library and Information Science graduate from DU, so I completed my program in August of last year. And I used to be a volunteer in this library, so I've been around Englewood for a while. So in our 2024 action plan, we talked about the library of things. In our 2023 action plan, we talked about cultural arts passes and non-traditional lending items. That's kind of what we've started with all of this. Board games, book club kits, culture passes. Book club kits have been around for a while. Board games, culture passes, brand new. Board games we already had on hand, so there wasn't a lot of upfront costs with those. But we had a previous intern who did a lot of the work in like processing the physical materials and getting them ready for circulation. So I partnered with our technical services, librarian, Celine Berger, to kind of get those cataloged and ready to actually move out the cat. So board and card games were introduced in November, culture passes last March. Book club kits have been around for a while, but we added them to new reservation software to kind of make circulation more predictable. So you can actually choose the date that you want to pick them up instead of just placing them on hold and praying that they come in before your main book club. Book club kits, we've got 31 kits total in the collection as of December 2023. 24 of those kits were checked out, which means 240 books were circulated because there's 10 books in each kit, which means 24 literary conversations were facilitated. The usage spikes in the summer, which corresponds with our summer reading bingo that adult services did for summer reading. And it's kind of sustained at a higher rate at the end of the year, which I would like to believe corresponds with the introduction of the new Kickkeeper software, but that remains to be seen. In terms of value added, that's the cost of all of these materials if you purchase them with your own wallet. So this is $5,600 worth of books, canvas bags, discussion guides, information on alternative formats, and the staff time that goes into putting it together. Boarding card games. So these were introduced in November of 2023, November 1st. So there's only 2 months of circulation data so far. But there's 32 games in the collection. They circulated 13 times between November and December, which for a brand new collection is pretty good. You know, not to pat myself on the back. And then again, value added, that's the cost for a single Englewood household to purchase all 32 of these games. $834 is a big investment to make in a set of games that you're not sure you're going to like. So this gives Englewood patrons an opportunity to try before they buy, to use resources that, you know, maybe they have never heard of some of these games. Some of these games are discontinued. Some of them are indie games, so they're more expensive, they're less accessible. You can't just walk in Walmart and buy them. Culture passes. In 2024, we had 10 locations. We're now up to 11. We started in March of 2023 and added a few through, I think, June of 2023. So those statistics are going to kind of, the usage is going to kind of increase. But if you look at the total number of uses for the year, we spent $1,900 on these memberships, which is like, and then if you took the usage, multiplied it by the regular admission cost for each of these institutions, and then multiplied that total by how many visitors could get into each institution with our pass, this is how much they would have spent on admission. So we've saved the Englewood community $60,000. Since a lot of these institutions aren't even located in Englewood, they're just in the Denver metro area, that's $60,000 that Englewood residents can spend in Englewood. So, again, that's pretty cool. Moving forward, these are our institutions that participate. Nature and Science, Botanic Gardens, and the Butterfly Pavilion are always our most popular passes. The other institutions are gaining popularity, which I find promising because it means that patrons are visiting locations that they might not otherwise if they had to, you know, spend the dollars themselves. And then January and February, obviously, we don't have any but usage takes a huge spike in the summer, like massive. Everyone's got more free time, everyone's doing more fun stuff. And then it kind of levels out through the rest of the year, but it's still hovering in like a pretty good range. That's at least one pass every day of the month. So I think that's a positive trend. I hope to see it improve. Promotion continues as we get new card holders and as we add institutions. I'm also our volunteer coordinator. So in addition to gathering all of these statistics, managing these collections, advertising them, creating promotional materials for them, I'm also inviting people to spend their free time in the library doing my work. In the action plan, again, we set the goal to create a formal volunteer program, and we did that. I used to be a volunteer. I was a volunteer here for 9 months. And then between the ages of 11 and 24, I was volunteering in 3 other library systems. So I have experience in big libraries, I have experience in small libraries, rural libraries, metro libraries, all kinds of systems, which I think gives me a unique perspective in what works and what doesn't. So our volunteers, a lot of larger library systems hire folks to do the work that we ask our volunteers to do. Large library systems hire pages, they hire part-timers, they hire substitutes to shelve and to clean and to sort books that are being donated and teach people how to use their computers. So this is what the lowest paid library associate makes. If these are the total hours that our 11 volunteers contributed in 2023. So we've saved $8,600 in labor by having a robust, useful, efficient volunteer program. Retention is also on par with our part-time staff. 45% retention rate at 6 months, I think is pretty good, especially for a brand new established volunteer program, in which I've had a lot of experience being a volunteer, but no experience being the coordinator. So volunteers are sorted into 2 main buckets: floor tasks like shelving and tech assist. So our tech assist volunteers are a small but mighty number. They come in once, twice a week. They teach folks, generally older folks, how to use their computers, their laptops, their tablets, their cell phones, how to click coupons in the Safeway app, all of that good stuff. Shelving volunteers. Shelving is obviously the most popular task. It's usually what people ask to do when they come in here. But they also help with refreshing our displays, cleaning, and sorting books in the book sale. Some of y'all volunteered for a book sale this year, and so your hours are actually counted in this graph. So thank you for your service. So moving forward, like we said in the 2024 action plan, we want to use those interactions, those questions that Beth talked about, to kind of see where to go next with our library things. What can we add to the library to make it more useful to patrons? So I'm going to be asking questions like, how often is this used? How do people use it? Would they rather be using something else? And then using those Dart services, that platform that we use, to see what we can add. For the volunteer program, I'm working on a plan to partner with departments in the library to establish different recurring tasks as well as one-off tasks. Volunteers can be great to help set up programs, break down programs, create example crafts for programs, all kinds of stuff. And then I also am working on an effective way to solicit feedback from recurrent volunteers. What do they like about being here? What do they not like about being here? What do they want more or less of? Because I want our volunteers to be active participants in the program, because that was always something that I enjoyed about being a volunteer in a good system. We'll have to go to, my hometown librarian and be like, hey, Annie, I'm going to do more of this, or can I help you with this? And she usually said yes. So I hope that was 5 to 7 minutes, but I really wasn't counting. Do you have any questions? There's also a full text document that I hope were sent.
It's in there.
It's in the.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, really great work.
Very, very nice presentation, very good. Do you do video games?
We do have video games. They're not part of our library of things. They're just considered part of the general collection, but they're not holdable. So it's not, if we allowed patrons to hold on like Super Mario Party, we would never see it again. You know, the holds list would be a mile long. It would never come back into the library because it was constantly changing hands. Everyone would be waiting a million years for it. So it's significantly easier on staff, and it makes it a little more exciting for patrons, I think, to just come into the library and see what's available as far as video games go, instead of waiting for, 6 months, a year, 2 years for a game.
Oh, you mean just to check it out?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you keep those up to current video games and?
We're working on an evaluation of that collection right now. So I actually went through all of the video games about 2 weeks ago. I just took note of which ones were more popular, which ones have been billed or marked lost, which ones have been damaged. So we can kind of refresh that collection and lean into more games where, like some games, like PlayStation 4 games, you have to like put this CD in, but then you have to download the game and it's like a whole ordeal. With Switch games, you just kind of plug and go. There's no downloading, the game's just there. So we're kind of looking into leaning more into that model
The Switch.
where you don't have to download anything, there's nothing to save, there's no fiddling. You just play.
So is that just regular circulation? Yeah, okay.
That's just regular.
And
Yeah.
so the culture passes related to that, places that you don't see many people using, is it still, how do you decide whether that's valuable?
That's gonna be part of this year's, like, are people using it? Why aren't they using it?
Mhm.
Because if it's something like the hours are inconvenient, maybe it's something like Carrie and I talk about.
Yeah.
Is there another institution that would serve the city better? But if it's like, I had never heard of a museum of miniatures, dolls and toys before. So maybe it's just people need to be exposed to what it is that it offers, what kind of interests we can appeal to.
Right.
Well, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think every institution's use, like if you calculated their use, it paid for
Great.
the membership cost, because none cost more than like $100 to $300. So when we calculated like the give and take of it, at least we didn't lose money
Right.
on the investment.
Yeah, I was just looking back at that because it was so fascinating. Okay, great. And then the ones that had dashes, like the Museum of Nature and Science, they get that to the library.
That's zero cost for life.
That's amazing.
Does the zoo do anything?
The zoo does not offer culture pass memberships. So
Yeah.
the Denver Public Library, I think previously had one until the zoo transitioned away from that program. So they even say like on Denver Library website, like, we know we used to offer this, but go check out the zoo's website. So.
Like Texas, how much are you guys partnering or taking with the Valley Center on making people aware of some of those options?
So that's not quite my domain. So I can't say for sure. I think part of the goals of this year are to strengthen those relationships. Because I think the Valley Center is mentioned in the action plan for services. So I think that's part of this year's kind of goals, but we do have a pretty regular following as far as patrons who do come. We have some who come in like every single Tuesday, who've been coming in every single Tuesday since I was a Texas volunteer.
Is it named Mom?
You recently got a cell phone.
But we have a lot of folks who came into Pegasus in March of 2023 when I started. And we're like, I have literally no idea what I'm doing. And now they have skills and they feel empowered to try new things and to make those improvements. So even if we're not currently reaching the town center, I have faith that, you know, at the very least, word of mouth is like.
Hannah, awesome job on this presentation. Thank you for collecting so much useful information.
Yeah.
As we, as the library board, think about a strategic plan, what that looks like, and you can answer this later, but is there anything in your daily work that you would think, oh man, I'd really like to X? And it's something we should be thinking about as far as a strategic relationship, a strategic program, something that would help advance what you feel like is, what you want to accomplish for the library.
I mean, I will certainly think about that. I have a lot of thoughts, but I don't want to just like.
Yeah, I know it's a lot to like, tell me your entire head. It's like, yeah, so yeah, please let us know, I mean, or whatever, but I can relate that, but I mean, I just think from your experience and what you shared with us, we can learn a lot from you. And, I think to add to the community of Inglewood would be important for you to share with us, so please do.
What's next on your radar for adding to the library?
Our most popular requests, generally in order, are courtesy phone, faxing, scanning to email, a notary, loanable technology, and transit passes. So some of those things are feasible for the library. I mean, we have the technology that's capable of faxing. We just don't have it enabled to fax. We have the technology that's capable of scanning to email. We just don't have it enabled to do that. So it's gonna be kind of.
We tried to get it set up when we got the new machines.
Yeah.
But we don't, I mean, we probably could. But it really takes a greater coordination with IT and requires some additional technology, which would probably require us to phase out the method we currently use for paying for stuff. Which is pretty old fashioned.
Yeah.
Like coin kiosks we have. But I mean, it's gonna take some very focused planning to update that to more advanced technology.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
So I wish it could be more technical.
Yeah.
But we can also look at things like adding to our Culture Pass membership, the Denver Tool Library, which DPL offers as part of their like library of things, culture passes, like, get out into Denver kind of resources. So it could be something as simple as that. I don't foresee us adding like muffins or KitchenAid stand mixers to the collection for a while. Anything that requires a lot of cleaning between use, probably. Storage. And storage, yeah. My guess is for those.
Why would you add those?
There are other libraries that do have items like that in the library of things.
For people to take out?
Yeah, for people to borrow.
Really?
Like cake molds were really popular in my last library because you don't want a duck cake mold that you have forever, but you might need it for your 1-year-old birthday party. So you come check it
Never
out.
heard of that.
So that's pretty cool.
Very neat.
I think
Sewing.
I have a list.
Let's
Bemis, Denver, Arapahoe, Longmont, Louisville, and Lafayette all have a library of things. What's in them varies between libraries. Some of them have hotspots and Chromebooks and, hotspots and Chromebooks, like technology.
Technology, okay.
And some of them have games and puzzles and American Girl dolls and cake pans and whatever else you could imagine. So
That people can actually check out.
they can take home, use them for.
I like that.
Wash first.
I like that.
Yeah.
Maybe you should go on a field trip. On a field trip to one of these places.
Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you so much.
I just make one comment. We're.
You ever seen
it? I think it's really powerful and, really wonderful to see. And I like, the more we think about the library in that way, the value and like the monetary piece, I think.
Yeah.
Really wonderful. So I think as you guys continue, think about the action plan and all things you're doing this year, adding that kind of data, I think it's really.
One of the things I'm trying to figure out how we can do in partnership with Marmot, the consortium that we're a part of that provides our integrated library system, is how we can add to the checkout receipt the value of what you just checked out. So like, for example, I look at, like, I have several books checked out, but like at least 3 of them totaling together was like $58 or something like that. So like if you check out, it would say like you saved, $58 by using your library today.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that they can help us set that up. So that's something I'm trying to put into place as soon as we can, because I do think that that is a powerful message to people when they see their receipt, because they're always looking at like, what's my due date? And then they'll be like, I just saved $170 checking out all these books for myself and my kids, and that's impactful for people to realize the value that they get out of their library. And it's just a simple thing.
Yeah, because we view the library as this equity where everyone can come, it's free for everyone, but that's a huge help.
Yeah, and I think when people are just like, oh, the library's great because it's free, but they kind of forget that there's value to what you're getting for free. And so like, to think about it in that other way. And that's what kind of Hannah framed is like, this is how much money we saved, the people of Maplewood that they could use on something else. So.
I'd like to see that $60,000 number as like a social media post.
Yeah.
I think I was like saying like, that's so you go, like, oh, I would do that, like, that would be good.
Let's make it the same thing.
Thank you, Hannah.
Team Hannah, can we make t-shirts?
Team Rachel's gonna get jealous. Oh, yeah, okay, then we're good.
I did.
You're good. All right, new business B, SB 24049 update.
And I'm sorry I didn't put the title of it, but like, so this is state bill that's titled Content of Materials in Libraries. This is really just to kind of give you a brief introduction to this legislation that has been introduced. It's essentially trying to create a state law that would require schools and public libraries to have a reconsideration process, which that was one of the things we worked on last year. So we do have one in place already. This is just an effort to make it a formal legal requirement. Because not all public libraries, and I'm not even, there's a whole section about schools in here that I'm not even gonna address because I don't really have the knowledge or expertise for that. But there are some public libraries in the state that do not have a reconsideration process. They don't want to have one. And this could be problematic for them because they may be required to have one. So in general, public libraries support this bill, and there's been a lot of discussion among Colorado public library directors with some feedback and suggestions for amendments to the original bill. And so that has been sent in. A letter was sent in on behalf of like the working committee that compiled all the responses and came up with suggestions. There was supposed to be a hearing on January 29th, but it did get postponed. And the upcoming hearing will be next Wednesday, February 21st, at 1:30 p.m. So there are still some concerns about, allowing local control of the process or policies for different organizations, whether it's a library district or municipal library. So there's some people that are kind of pro and con for that, but in general, most of the public libraries were in support of it. And they just had some of the things that were like the most positive aspects that were highlighted is that it moves a core group of intellectual freedom policies into law. There's an approach for both schools and public libraries to follow. It would require the posting of the number and final disposition of challenge resources to the public, which creates a little bit more transparency. I honestly don't know how many challenges have occurred statewide. I do think that they probably occur a little bit more frequently in rural areas. Just based on kind of what I hear the library directors who say that they've been involved with them are generally in kind of more rural areas. It does require that challengers actually reside in the legal service area of the institution. Resources would not be withdrawn from general use while under review. Parents have the right to oversee their children's library use, but not other people's children. And then identifying challenges as unlawful discrimination provides an additional defense of library collections and ensures the greatest representation and participation of our communities. So those are kind of the highlights of like the positive aspects of it. And then the kind of the concerns were just more about the language. There is some concern about how it's actually in the library law. It states that a board of trustees shall do X, Y, and Z, but there's two different kind of types of libraries in Colorado. So you have library districts, and then you have, you know, county and like municipal library systems that are actually governed by a different type of entity. So our library is a good example. We're actually governed more by city council than this group. This is an advisory board. So there's lots of libraries that have advisory boards that wouldn't necessarily be making actual policy decisions, and things like that. So that part they're trying to kind of tweak a little bit, and there's other language, just trying to update things to like include electronic resources and kind of expand things that are a little bit more kind of current, because there's a lot of like outdated material types that are referenced in the original kind of library law. And then there's another section that they want to include, like the original bill writers want to have, it says consulting with and considering perspectives of marginalized groups. So there are some concerns about rural areas that may not have representatives of a certain group to be consulted, and like how far beyond your community do you go? So like there's some confusion and questions about that. And then they're also recommending that just in general, that phrasing be changed from just marginalized groups to historically marginalized and underrepresented groups, including people of color and members of the LGBTQIA communities. I'm trying to be a little bit more encompassing of different groups. And that's kind of where it's at right now. As far as I know, I think this upcoming hearing will be where the sponsors of the bill may respond to the library's recommendations. Whether school organizations are also providing feedback, I'm not really sure. So basically the long and short of it is just something to be aware of, that this could impact us down the road, but we already have a reconsideration process in place. And the board does play a role in that, should it be activated. And I don't think very much would change for us if this bill is like formally approved and put into place. So just in case you start hearing about it, because I think initially too, people were thinking, is this something that's going to like hinder libraries from stopping people from challenging the thing? So it's not a ban on book banning, which you may have heard other states are doing. It's trying to formalize a process for people to request something, but and it's just making it a state law.
I'm curious, if it's passing our policy here, has it been utilized at all? Okay, love that.
And one of the things I did want to like, I did make a note about that I thought was particularly meaningful is that so the library director of Garfield County Libraries, he was previously a member of the Office of Intellectual Freedom with the American Library Association. And through his work there, I didn't note this. And I said it to him the other night, it was something to the effect of like the strongest way to like not have people like challenge or try to censor your materials is to have a process in place.
Yeah.
Because when you don't have a policy or procedure, when somebody does challenge something, now you're like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
So like, you're less likely to encounter someone who's gonna go through all the work when you do have something in place. So having the policy in and of itself helps protect you from something.
I just wanted to add, they moved the date and time, just so you're aware. It's now February 26th. Monday, February 26th. 30. They moved it today, so
Okay.
just FYI, if you're,
Thank you.
you've already put it in your calendar, it's your day. It's now February 26th, Monday at 1:30.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad you knew that. So that's all of that, is just to give you guys some information. It is also, like, it's all available to read online if you wanted to read more deep into it, but, I feel like, did it come up with you guys? Did somebody ask me about it?
I
Gina
emailed.
emailed it.
It was Gina, okay, I was like,
Yeah,
okay,
it's
just
like
like,
it's like that.
Season. I was
Yeah,
at the Capitol today, so, but it just happened across and I was like, oh, this might be interesting. Yes, just in case anyone else.
Thank you.
About it, that's all.
Review and discussion of city standards of behavior and library code comments.
so this just came up mostly because there have been some outspoken people at council with concerns and complaints about the content of the standards of behavior. There are a couple items that are being there's been recommendations for rewording them. The most prominent one is the one, the unsanitary bodily hygiene caused by body odor. That's being a little bit, that the body odor part is being taken out. It's more of a focus on anything that would create a public health threat. So bodily fluids and things like that. So that one's being, there's been a proposal to revise that wording and that's being reviewed. We've also made a suggestion for personal possessions, just kind of defining it a little bit more. And then the city attorney's office is also just doing a general review for terms, I can't even remember what she told me, but just things that have to be tweaked. That's more kind of like the legalese stuff of it. I forgot what she told me exactly, but so I still think, Carrie and Corinne and I went through all of these. I still think that all of these standards are appropriate for at least the library. I don't think that there's anything that leaves the library kind of unprotected. It addresses kind of the gamut of things that we would encounter. And then in addition, we do also have the Public Library Code of Conduct. So this was just additional items that aren't included in the standards of behavior that are more particular to the library. So I just wanted to go over it. It's just kind of a refresher. Unattended children, children that are under the age of 10 need to have an adult with them in the library. And then children under 5 should be directly supervised by parents. So like if a 3-year-old's in the children's area, the parents over here in the stacks, we're gonna probably try to find that parent and reconnect them with their kid. They shouldn't leave them unattended. Sleeping, this one does get a little hazy for us, but we pretty much don't want people laying down or putting furniture together and kind of creating like a bed or like a bench to lay on, things like that. If we see people laying down on the floor, we just ask them to find a seat to sit at, because when somebody's laying on the floor, it just gives us the impression that maybe they're ill or something has happened. Do we need to get medical attention? So in order to kind of signal that they're okay, having them being seated upright, even if they doze off, is what we would prefer rather than having like full out people laying on the ground. And then the furniture kind of thing, that's the same thing where we don't want people putting their feet on things, laying on tables, putting chairs together to try to lay down. And then the equipment that's not allowed, bicycles, wagons, shopping carts, skateboards, roller skates, scooters. I think we let people bring like a scooter in, but we just tell them, please don't ride it in the library. And then strollers and wagons that are transporting children are allowed, but like if you're just bringing in a wagon and it contains all of your personal possessions, we do ask people to try to find somewhere else to do that, because it takes up a lot of space within the library. So we generally have most people kind of sticking to like what they can carry, because that's really kind of all they can manage. We don't have too many problems with that. And then abandoned property, that doesn't happen too often. Sometimes when people leave stuff behind, they will come back and within a couple of days they get it. And then if they don't, it's been in our lost and found for a while, it's disposed. Or we'll reuse it or donate it if it's in decent condition. So this was just more of a kind of a refresher and just like a reminder that the city is kind of consistently, paying attention to how these standards are being used. They apply to all the city facilities, not just the Civic Center and the library. So.
All right, our final item is on new business is request for library board fund.
Yes. We're wiping you out. Second month right here.
Unheard of.
Yeah. Our planning skills are getting sharper every year. So it's $1,000 for summer reading prizes, $500 for outreach swag, so just like stuff like the pens, the fantastic chapstick, and other giveaways that we can offer when we're out at events. $500 for fall youth programs, so that would include the trunk or treat, JamBooree, and teen programs. And then $500 for staff professional development, which would include, which basically would be for like conferences or webinars or classes that for continuing education.
So my one concern is that we've always tried to like give you all food of some kind to like treat you at the end of the year. I understand that these might be more pressing needs, but like,
I think,
Yeah, I have the same concern.
yeah,
so our general fund budget has a healthy amount of money for those types of things.
got it.
It unfortunately doesn't have a lot of funding for like.
All right.
So we managed, like, I don't know how that worked out because we were trying to increase our training funding, but just didn't. So we have a different approach plan for 2025. But that's really like, that's what we need.
Okay.
Really, because like I think we've already spent like 80% of our professional development money for the first quarter of the year.
Is it more important to have swag than more money for professional development?
I don't know. I mean, because we have some money for professional development, we don't have any money for having anything to give away at events. And we are planning to attend 5 additional events this year.
In addition to
The like 4 or 5 that we did last year. So, and that the outreach stuff would be, it's not like just for adults or just for children. It's just like,
Yep.
the whole shebang. And I don't really have any funding we purchased some stuff, I think in 2023, that lasted us through 2022, we bought it. It lasted us through 2023. I do think Kinne added some things in 2023. But I think she actually used the programming money for it because we just got kind of like the leftovers programs. So we just don't really have a way to make sure we have enough to last us through the year. And it would be nice to have something new to offer, especially with some of the new events we're planning to. During the summer.
to be environmentally conscious, like, I don't like all the, for lack of a better word, junk that like we end up with. And I would just like to push that you try to be like kind of thoughtful in the swag that's purchased because, it's kind of important, so. That,
Like, I like them to be things that are purposeful for
Yeah.
people things.
yeah,
Like that they're gonna,
Yeah.
that they're gonna use and stuff. Like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It's not
That
just,
they could use here.
right,
Yeah.
things that are useful that have like our name on it. And we have a new library logo that we didn't have before,
yeah,
that none of our, I think the new bags, the black bags that they got for summer reading have it. No, they don't.
the staff ones that we got for, staff gifts. But not this.
Oh, not the ones for the reading program.
What's your reading notes do?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, that would just be my feedback.
Like little plastic toys.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Or
wouldn't
plastic
be
toy.
for like
Oh my
the
God.
traffic stuff.
Yeah.
It would be more like for purposeful things.
Okay.
That are promotional.
Yeah, yeah, like I do think that the promotion of the library is very important.
Yeah.
I just wonder if like, I know you thought, I would love to put like 650 towards professional development, less towards swag, but
Sure.
I trust your judgment.
I mean, either, if that's what you would prefer, the money to go to that, no, that's good.
Just because we're so short on members that have opinions and stuff, I think rolling this over to the next meeting,
Oh.
unless you need a decision tonight.
Chris did say he generally approves, but wanted more details. He emailed me before the meeting about this, but
Yeah, can we
Yeah.
go to the next?
That's why we're trying to get it.
Yeah.
Out there early.
yeah,
Well, being this is like 8 months earlier than it's ever been. And kudos to you. So yeah, why don't we just roll over to the next one?
is there anything you need now?
Maybe a related question, but Hannah, with the success in the summertime of how you've seen a boost in your book club kids. And I think that was an adult book club kid. Are there, and that's just rent preserving those, right? Maybe these things are unrelated. My brain went a different direction. I was thinking like there's no prizes or anything for that. It's just, there's an uptick in July of reserving book club kids. For bingo or something you said.
So,
You said
yeah.
something about bingo.
Some program last year, there was a reading log and a reading bingo. And because the theme was all together now, all of the squares on the bingo were meant to encourage like community engagement. So we put, check out a book club kid on the bingo card, like, check out a book club kid and like talk about it with your friends, like engage with your community. So that was, I think, part of the uptick that was on.
And were there prizes associated with that?
There were
For-
prizes associated with summer bingo.
Yeah.
And with
For the adults, but that's not in this.
No.
That's not, that's a different funding stream. Okay.
It's not swag.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
no,
like the book
That's
sale, right? Like the book sale would support those funds for prize
Summer
for summer.
some-
Yeah, book sale funds are going to, provide.
The library will close in 30 minutes. The public computers will shut down in 20 minutes. The restrooms will close in 15 minutes. Thank you.
So firm.
The book sale funds are going to support the purchase of the book prizes.
Got it.
That will, the kids, and that will be for kids and adults, kids, teens and adults. The money that we made from our book sales, we're using to purchase the prize books for summer reading. But yeah, like, it was just an activity to do as part of completing the bingo.
Okay.
And they included the
check
book up, the book club things. And so we're also adding 5 new titles to the book club kids this year that you didn't, was that included in your 31?
No.
No, not yet.
that was strictly 20.
Okay, 5 or 6. Six new titles will be added.
6 new books.
Yeah, 6 new book titles and on each, so that's 60 copies because each kit will have 10 books.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, but we don't need to consider funds for
No.
your, okay.
No.
That's where I think my brain was going. I needed to
Oh,
connect the dots with, there's an uptick in July, the thing.
Yeah.
Got-
Yeah, the book club kids, come out of our book budget.
Yeah.
They can't keep those, right?
No, they check them out for 6 weeks.
6 weeks, okay.
6 weeks or, yeah.
All right, back to this. Yeah,
I'm probably happy
prize
to,
and prizes.
Yeah.
I would love that to be passed along. Doodles for Miss Kimberly. But now we just get so many little,
so I mean, I will admit that summer reading prizes
Yeah.
are
fully jumped.
shot sheets.
I know. They come to
Well
my house. They come to my
Well-earned
house.
treats for good job.
We got it.
Reused sale for that stuff.
We got it.
The library used.
We got it. 2 rounds left. So 2 kids. Anyway. Okay, we'll table this until next month unless you need anything. Perfect. All right, here you go. Staff's choice.
You guys have anything? Go.
I was only gonna mention the capital.
Then I will not. Go ahead.
Was that what you were gonna say?
I have two things. Go.
Well, part of it is like Christina probably has like the responsibilities and meetings you have to go to. But I just want to highlight that a really important thing that the library really needs a large chunk of money for capital improvement is to upgrade furniture throughout the library, including the meeting room tables.
Yeah.
And, but that would also include like our service desks too.
Mhm.
If you ever walk by the reference desk, it is kind of just like two desks kind of smushed together. We're actually planning on doing that to the children's desk too, because we want to have a second staff workstation at the children's desk. And so it's just going to be like, we're just making do with what we have. But I'd like to have a plan to get kind of more unified looking furniture that's like a single piece serving the function that is needed instead of cobbling stuff together. The tables at the public computers are not in the best shape. The dividers are pretty ratty. And then a lot of the chairs for the public have been damaged and they don't match anymore. I honestly would prefer to not have the wheeled chairs on the floor for patrons. Because I have seen people fall out of them. So I'd like to have something more stable. Yeah, and then just better quality meeting room equipment. So like, that's the big thing that I would like to suggest as a capital project that the board put forth on the libraries we have.
So we're gonna work on getting prices for all of that.
Remind me, way back, we talked about more outlets, like, would that be able to be part of this?
Yeah, potentially that could be something where we can, because one of the things that we would like to do where the computers are is, Corinne and I have talked about reducing the number of public computers available. And so there's power in the middle of that space. If we were to somehow rearrange that area, we could arrange tables that have outlet access that could just plug down to the floor.
I think that would be so meaningful because I think that we could, like, going to a coffee shop is outrageous right now. Like, it would be really great to bring people in who would otherwise be going somewhere else, spending money to do their work here.
Yeah, and I mean, there's other areas where we could place like power accessible tables near outlets that are on the wall to provide a greater, it's like right now, it's just like, it's right at the wall. So if I'm sitting next to the wall, I have the plug, but you would have to be like, excuse me, stranger.
Yeah.
And like reach over me, but if there was a plug thing right here, we could both have power access.
Great.
So like upgrading some, furniture that would provide better access. Because that is like one of the biggest things people want when they come here is a place to charge their equipment.
Yeah.
And the other item we're gonna add is the entryway, that you come through into the library, making that more transparent. Literally, like, so you can see through it. Right now, it's a blind spot coming in. That's around 150,000 to do that. The furniture, if we ever move this library, could go with us. Something like the entryway obviously cannot. So it's a decision that the Budget Advisory Committee and council is gonna have to think about, but it definitely from a safety perspective would be important. March, we'll put that on the agenda to discuss further. And then the elections, which will happen in March, there is no mandate that you can only be on chair for 2 years, but that's a decision y'all can make next month if you wanna have Marie stay and Andy stay as vice chair, or promote them up, or somebody else wants to take over. So we'll discuss that in March. And then the last thing I have just to put on your calendars, our very first event for the year is March 23rd, the Hop and Shop at Bellevue Park. That's the egg hunt.
March 23rd.
March 23rd, it's a Saturday, 10 to 2, Bellevue Park.
What's it called now?
Bellevue Park.
Hop and Shop.
Hop and Shop. So we'll have vendors there in addition, because the egg hunt lasts literally a minute and a half.
Yeah, what it's called.
Is it gonna be set up the same?
Pretty close to the same, yeah.
Are we gonna have,
We probably will do something. I know Kimberly and Corinne were at it last year.
There's not room for volunteers in that space,
Yeah,
like physically.
but they have kind of, based on what they offered last year, they have some different ideas to make it a little bit simpler.
Yeah. It gets really hectic there right after the egg hunt.
Why does it get so hectic?
It's like the setup,
Oh,
and there's just mass amounts of children, the families swarming.
swarm.
If you've been to Bellevue Park, it's like the winding walkway up.
Oh,
the
right,
court
right.
from the pavilion.
It's a busy event.
It's very busy. Okay, cool.
The only last thing I just wanted to say, and if you'd like, if you haven't seen it and you'd like me to share it, I did send it to Christina. There was an interesting article in the Denver Post on Monday titled Colorado Librarians Are Now Frontline Crisis Workers Managing Homeless Patrons' Mental Illness, Book Banners. So it's a really good article. It highlights the challenges that public libraries all over are facing. So okay, yeah.
Can you send it like?
Yeah,
outside
could
of
you
the
send
wall
it
as
to
well?
us?
Yeah, I will, I'll send the link. I also downloaded just the text version of it from our news bank too.
Wonderful.
I can pass both.
Okay.
That's like reading, using a library card.
Yeah.
I know. It's hard to do like if you're reading on your phone on the fly. I do use that for the pure time.
And
Yeah, that's a good one.
I do have something. Those of you who were here last year may remember the training materials. There's a board and commission member training video. There's a revised handbook. And all that. I'll send out links. I'll include them in the packet next month. But I'll go and send out an email. If you guys, you can either go on to the website or follow the links. But if you have not signed the checklist, I think you guys have all been here. So if you have not, then you would need to sign up, but they are verifying. I don't think you all need to sign that again. So, but please go in and watch the video and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
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 The option to weigh in. So you were in charter board, you'd be willing to do so. It was a little overwhelming and you guys were like, looks good. We took a lot of feedback and actually city council asked staff to look at the entire capital improvement plan process and how are we allocating these funds to the best of our ability in a strategic way. And a lot of good feedback from boards and commissions about how can you be empowered to participate in this process better? What are the resources and information that be more useful. So we will be tweaking that process this year. City council had a study session on this 2 weeks ago. And we would like to invite board and commissions to be engaged earlier in the process so they can help directors really shape some of their recommendations before it gets all the way down to the bigger stuff that comes to council. So hopeful that we'll see some improvements as you guys consider some of those recommendations to us. The second thing I want to say is we had our city council retreat on January 27th, where we review the city's strategic plan and we consider adjustments or amendments, especially with a new council with 2 members for the upcoming year. This year, we did make a shift, and I think has some relevance with this group. There were 7 outcome areas in the strategic plan. We took our programs outcome area, or sorry, our neighborhoods outcome area, and we nested it now under a new outcome area called community engagement. So we would like the city to continue to do even more on engaging the community, better communication, how do we think about our events, how do we think about all the different ways that we interact with community members to share information and to ensure that they know what the city's doing and then how they can be involved in it from kind of a more strategic and holistic perspective. So the library obviously has a ton of engagement with our residents and patrons on a daily basis. And so as the strategy for that outcome area take shape, I'm sure you will. So, thank you.
Can you remind us the timeline on the capital improvement?
It's new this year.
It is, and we just covered it in the supervisors meeting.
If you can just. email me.
There's like, you guys would.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Yeah.
I've been keeping a little bit closer track this year because I actually.
I think it kicks off in March, and that's when we'll bring it in March to you.
Okay.
And then the process June
All right.
and then August.
There's a
So
meeting I need to be at.
we'll let you know. Don't worry.
Okay. Cool. Cool.
Okay, so something that stuck out to me is a culture pass, something I'm gonna be bringing up during my board, which is gonna be next month. Next meeting, or like 6 weeks, I don't know. So I'll be making sure to promote it there, mainly because it'll help them with retention with our students and so.
Yeah, I did. We were talking about 2 book sales this coming year. Are you collecting books now?
We're actively taking donations at, like, during all of our business hours.
Okay.
We have finally completed getting through everything we got last fall, but we do continue to get new donations. I'll actually be working with a couple of the volunteers tomorrow and Saturday, to establish a new procedure for how we immediately respond to the donations once they come in. We will possibly do a call for donations to try to get a few more. We certainly will not do it for a 3-week period though. So, but we'll probably, I'm still trying to manage what we have going on to decide whether or not we should do a spring book sale event, and we're trying to look at what is on the events calendar for the city, how we might coordinate. So I'm trying to kind of see if it's gonna be feasible to do something. I feel like maybe, is the Earth Day thing in the civics center?
No, it's gonna be out, yeah, and then it's circle.
Because the one thing I was thinking, if we tried to tie it into Earth Day, because it's the reusing of books, so I thought it could tie into that, so potentially we could try to tie it in to the Earth Day event. So I'm working on that to see if we'll do a spring one.
So we don't have dates?
Not yet.
Okay, but
I mean,
they take spring and fall.
Yeah, so if we do it the Earth Day, I just closed my document, but it's April 27th.
Yeah.
So last Saturday, April. And then we do a fall one, it would probably be, I don't know, end of September, mid-September, I'm not sure. Maybe a little bit later than what we did it last year. But again, trying to, I don't know, because then there's fewer events in the fall, I feel like, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out.
The library will close in 15 minutes. Please bring your items to circulation for checkout at this time. The public restrooms are now closed for the evening. Public computers will shut down in 5 minutes. Please save or print your work now.
Yeah, do we have, I want to know the status of the strategic plan or what you were going. So,
Oh,
yeah.
Is that a strategic plan or?
It is, yeah,
Okay.
and we're developing the RFP to go out probably in the next month, and then through that process, people will apply, their services, we'll
Mhm.
review, and we'll keep you updated on that, but I'm thinking by April, we'll look at consultants, May, hire somebody, and then we'll start the planning process through the busy months in the summer, so that's the tentative plan.
And how long is that anticipated?
It'll depend on the consultant.
Okay, but don't.
Yeah, that most likely, the goal is to have it fairly close to completion by the end of the year. So we can apply it in 2025.
Okay, by December.
Correct. Yeah. Oh,
Debbie
those two. Yeah.
Yeah, just a minute.
Can I have your signed copies? Thank you very much.
Just a second, guys, I have not.
Now, go to city council on Monday. At 7.
Yes.
Was it
To accept our new